This church, the great institutional body of Christ, is a marvelous work and a wonder, not only because of what it does for the faithful, but also because of what the faithful do for it. Your lives are at the very heart of that marvel. You are evidence of the wonder of it all. Just 24 hours after my call as a general authority last June, as an apostle last June, I left for a church assignment to Southern California, where in due course I found myself standing by the bedside of Debbie, Tanya, and Lisa Avila. These three lovely sisters, aged 33, 32, and 23, respectively, each developed muscular dystrophy at age 7. Since that tender age, each has had her rendezvous with pneumonia and tracheotomies, with neuropathy and leg braces. Then came wheelchairs, respirators, and finally total immobility. Enduring the longest period of immobility of the three sisters, Tanya has been on her back for 17 years, having never moved from her bed during that period of time. Never once in 17 years has she seen the sun rise or set, or felt the rain upon her face. Never once in 17 years has she picked a flower, or chased a rainbow, or watched a bird in flight. For a lesser number of years, Debbie and Lisa have also now lived with those same physical restrictions. Yet somehow, through it all, these sisters have not only endured, they have triumphed, earning young women personal achievement awards, graduating from high school, including seminary, completing university correspondence courses, and reading the standard works over and over and over again. But there's been one other abiding ambition these remarkable women were determined to see fulfilled. They rightly saw themselves as daughters of the covenant, offspring of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel. They vowed that somehow, some way, someday, they would go to the house of the Lord to claim those eternal promises. And now even that has been accomplished. It was the most thrilling and fulfilling day of my life, Debbie said. I truly felt I was home. Everyone was so gracious and helpful with the innumerable and seemingly insurmountable arrangements that had to be made. But never in my life have I felt more loved or more accepted. Of her experience, Tanya said, "The temple is the only place I have ever been where I felt truly whole. I've always felt I was a daughter of God, but only in the temple did I understand what that truly meant. The fact that I went through the experience lying horizontally with a respirator took absolutely nothing away from this sacred experience." Elder Douglas Collister, who along with the presidency and workers of the Los Angeles Temple assisted these sisters in making their dream come true, said to me, there they were, dressed in white, long black hair falling down nearly to the floor from their horizontal position, eyes filled with tears, unable to move their hands or any other part of their body except their head, savoring, absorbing, cherishing every word, every moment, every aspect of the temple endowment. Debbie would later say of the experience, "I know now what it will be like to be resurrected, surrounded by heavenly angels and in the presence of God." 1 year after her own endowment, Debbie Avila made her way back to the temple, again with staggering special arrangements and assistance, to do the work for her beloved grandmother, who had literally given her life in the care of these three granddaughters for 22 consecutive years, without reprieve or respite or exception. Sister Esperanza Lamelas cared for these three day and night. Virtually every night for 22 years, she awakened each hour on the hour to physically turn each child so that she would be comfortable in her sleep and avoid the problem of bed sores. In 1989, at age 74, her own health now broken, she died, having given new meaning to the prophet Joseph's invitation to waste and wear out our lives, doing all things that lie within our power for the benefit of the rising generation and all the pure in heart. The ongoing miracle of the restoration, covenants, temples, quiet, unsung Christian living. The work of the kingdom done with worn hands, weary hands, hands which in some cases cannot be raised to the square, but which are surely sustaining hands in every holy and sacred sense of the word. Let me close. The 1650s were a terrible time in England. The Puritan revolutionaries had executed a king, and political life, including Parliament, was in total chaos. A typhus epidemic turned the whole island into a hospital. The Great Plague, followed by the Great Fire, would turn it into a morgue. In Leicestershire, near where Sister Holland and I lived and labored for 3 magnificent years, there's a very small church with a plaque on the wall which reads, "In the year of 1653, when all things sacred were either demolished or profaned, Sir Robert Shirley built this church, whose singular praise it is to have done the best things in the worst times and hoped them in the most calamitous." To have done the best things in the worst times and to have hoped them in the most calamitous. Those are lines I would use to praise the prophets and the faithful members of the Church of Jesus Christ down through these years. Legions of the quietly heroic in every decade of the dispensation, led by the Lord's anointed, whose arms can also grow weary and whose legs are sometimes weak.